morning. It's Wednesday, March 19th, 2025, and yes, we're a day early. I had to rearrange my schedule a little bit. If you'll indulge me for a minute or two, I want to do a hop, skip, and a jump over some early forms of junk journaling, and you'll see why shortly. Between 1596 and 1647, an art dealer and diplomat, Philippe Hainhofer, traveled around Europe amassing an incredibly rich collection of signatures in the book, or called in Latin Album Amicorum. And it's like an autograph book. Hainhofer's register is filled with the marks of people like Cosimo de' Medici, the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph, Christian IV of Denmark and Norway. It's covered in red velvet. It's called an Album Amicorum, which is Latin, and I'll touch on that in a minute. And it was part of a larger trend to record family, friends, and acquaintances that began in the 1500s and is still surviving as an art form today. His method was pretty simple. He had a bound blank book, and wherever he went, he had his acquaintances and friends and business contacts sign the book, and then he would commission illustrations to commemorate those people he had met. This is another example from Enid Robinson, 1897 to 1903. It is in a special collection and is neither available as public domain images nor is it on display. You have to actually reserve and have a librarian show you the book. So we'll move on. This is the inspiration for at least part of what I'm going to be doing going forward. It's a journal I'll be working on. I mentioned it on Sunday. This is the journal of Marie Blanche Hanel Fournier, or Madame B. It is on display in the Chicago Institute of Art. It is public domain and is from the 1870s. I'm going to show you a second version of this type of display. And all of these cross hatches, if you look closely, appear to be made out of paper. But not only that, the people's names are written in faint ink or perhaps pencil, but I think probably ink. This is a wonderful album, and you may say to me, well, what's so special about it other than maybe the lattice work? Well, the rest of the illustrations in the album are more fanciful, and she was labeled as a collagist or a collage artist in her time. She does what we do. She takes pictures and mounts them on backgrounds that have flowers or some kind of decorative art. And it is this album that most closely resembles what we do today. Taking a closer look at the turkey's tail feathers, you can see that the tips are decorated with portraits. And for genealogists, if you did not include the feather portion, you could use that space for date of birth, date of death, parents, siblings, children. Is this the genesis of the genealogist fan chart? I don't know. That's our history lesson for today. Let's move on to some making. I've pulled out some ephemera pieces and had a good look around my stash. I'm trying to use some of it up. This is an introduction page for this journal that I have mocked up with that beautiful turn of the century palette for the journal introduction page that tells a little bit about Madame B, or Mrs. Fournier, as she would be formally known. And you can see by comparing some Art Nouveau card pieces that the color palette matches pretty well. And I like that because I happen to like the Art Nouveau style very much. Here are some other prints of ephemera, some label pieces I might use. The seed packets are a little more Art Deco-ish, but that's okay because the two styles bleed right into each other. I also have a template for some lined pages folded over pages for writing space. I intend for this journal to have a lot more writing space. And unfortunately, I have somehow messed up the settings on this print, and I'll have a fold line that doesn't fit where the fold line is supposed to be. So we'll just fold all these pieces up for the first working signature, and I'm leaving the white borders for the time being because if I decide I don't want them, I can cut them all down and they'll be uniform. I want this journal to stay pretty uniform because I have a specific size and it's based on 8.5 by 11 paper. I pulled out a piece of scrap wallpaper trim reprint to see if it would go with that green diagonal stripe, and it does. So I may do that as an alternating pattern. I have a couple of repeats in here, and some of them have lined paper and some don't. That piece of paper is a template for an aged paper. I believe it's a coffee dyed paper that I have photocopied because I never put tea dyed or coffee dyed paper in my journals. And I have a whole rant about that we won't go into. So let's put these pages together initially and see what we come up with. The next thing we're going to do is audition our ephemera and see what we have in the stash that will work, and then decide where it might go so we can get moving on the gluing and get a working signature together. I think I have 16 leaves now in this first signature, and I believe I add a couple of pages or swap some pages or something. So let's move on to figuring out where our ephemera goes. I like this piece of sheet music coming up. It's titled Invitation to the Walls in English. It's written in German, and it would make a nice end paper. Unfortunately, what I want to put on the inside cover is not going to fit. Doesn't matter. I'm sure that by the time I get to the binding and finishing of the larger journal, all these problems will have sorted themselves out, and we're going to speed through me auditioning different pieces of ephemera because there is so many pages that are lined and left for writing space, and I want to do as little as possible on those pages for the time being. I may decorate them at some point in the future, but right now we're just looking at um, putting together some collage-like inspiration pages. So here we go. We're also going to speed through a lot of this gluing because I did a bunch of it off camera. At some point, I heard my camera whirring and laboring, and I knew it was just a matter of time before it would quit on me, as it does almost every video lately. Now, what I'm doing right here is gluing on gussets to this pocket that's going to go on the bottom of this page. And I have inked the edges of the gusset already. I accidentally put glue on the bottom of that fold up of that piece of book page, and you'll see me wipe it out at some point. When I make a gusseted pocket, I like the fold up on the bottom to go outside the artificial gussets so that when I put things in the pocket itself, nothing actually gets caught on the bottom flap. This camera piece on the front of the pocket is a nod to Madame B because not only was she doing her own artwork, she also was a photographer, mostly portraiture, and so that little camera is a nod to her. Now, this is one of those pieces that's been stuck in the ephemera box and floated around my desk for about 4 years, and it's about time I use it. So here's to you, Madam B. Thank you for your inspiration. That butterfly up there is in a gilt frame, and I thought it was an interesting commentary to use that as the centerpiece for the camera lens, and I'll spare you the struggle of trying to get those stickers off their acetate backing and just show you the final shot of this page. Moving right along, you'll notice that I am leaving borders on the bottom and the side, whatever side is the flipping side, whether it's the right side or the left side, in case I decide to trim any of these pages. Um, this page in particular, I had to put that abstract rose uh, scrap down and let it dry and work on something else so that I wouldn't be wrinkling my pages. I found another piece of that Art Nouveau calling card image kinds of things that has the same colors, and then I made a little pocket with that. There's the margins. I made a little pocket with that lady for the Grow Your Own Roses advertisement. I'm skipping a lot of things. On the page with this wallpaper repeat, I decided that I'm going to pull that out and not use it. So I have a totally blank white page there, which I will use for something else and couldn't find any place in the pages behind it. So we'll just move on to filling this gap on this page. And I happen to have Iris advertisements, these two little pieces, and another very old piece of Iris ephemera from 5, 6 years ago. I don't even remember now how long. So we'll slap them down on this page, and this one will be done. Because I'm leaving those margins, I have extra room in the future, if I want to put stamps down there or ink splatters or words or what have you, there are little places where I can fill in the gaps with that kind of thing. I could even edge some of these pages with paper tape edging if I decide to do that. And this is one of those pages where on the right-hand side, it probably will get some paper tape edging, but I will do that when I'm ready to sew, actually after I sew my 3-hole pamphlet stitch in for this signature, then I'll trim the left or the right edge for sure, maybe the bottom, and then I'll see whether I need to fill in any gaps on any given page. So let's see. It seems like I'm leaving a lot of pages blank, and I am. But remember, I have a lot of line paper in this, which you might not be able to see on camera. At any rate, I'm finishing up this tag with these two ladies. I made a pull from the flowers that were on that page with those two ladies. And I want to include down by my right hand, which I just covered, a shoe advertisement, which, it's a little bit earlier than the dresses that these ladies wear, but it's close enough that it works. And I really had to work at getting these two images onto this tag or bookmark. And now I'm going to glue down the back of the pull tab. I'll probably put a little bit of lined paper on the back of that. It can be used as a bookmark or a tag with extra writing space or what have you. I do run into a problem with this where I wanted it to go. It's not going to work, and you'll see why in a minute. I've grabbed my washi tape and I'm going to use it to hinge this envelope on one side, and this envelope is meant to hold that bookmark or tag. And I'll spare you the struggle on this one as well, because for some reason, gluing this washi tape down just was a fiasco. All right, I'm not even sure exactly where I am in my own clips. As they say, a whole lot got left on the cutting room floor. And there, okay, now I know where we are. That tag will not live in that pocket because these pages are made out of copy paper, not cardstock. That tag is too heavy and flops around and, just unnecessary irritation. So let's see if we can get the last couple of pieces put into this journal for the time being and finish this signature. Now, I have a couple of just little ephemera pieces. This is one of those T-card images like the ones we've used previously in Art Nouveau style, and it goes perfectly on this page. And then the piece of vellum up above my right hand is a little printed piece of ephemera that says Daily Agenda, and I'm just going to put it on one of the writing pages. So this time we'll do a flip through instead of a final shot because this is a signature, not a single object like a journal cover. Since we'll have that introduction page with the butterfly, I am not going to use that wallpaper trim to counter the stripes. On the book, that when it's finished, I'm going to have a library card pocket. You can see we've got plenty of writing space and our collages are dry. I did cover some of the ink blobs on that particular paper with a piece of vellum ephemera, although the one on the back doesn't have anything covering it now. I like how this page with the pocket turned out, except for that it is not high contrast. And just to see if the bookmark is going to live in there, nope, the pocket is too big. So we'll just save it for the next signature. This pocket that had the gluing problems, that bookmark can't go there either. I've left the middle of a lot of the middle of this book completely empty without any embellishments because it's all pink, blue, purple. They sort of bleed together, and I just didn't have pieces prepared to do any further embellishments in those colors. Plenty of writing space, and I'm intentionally leaving the white ones blank. I can always go back and add florals or, some spirals or, some kind of marks. I can even spatter them. And so far, this first signature for this Madam B inspired journal is pretty much done. I don't think I'm going to stitch it, but I am going to take it out, and next time we will work on another signature. I still have to hold this working journal closed with the hairband because it will fly open if I don't. I hope you found this interesting, this little, at least starter on the history of junk journaling as we know it, or Liber Amicorum, or Book of Friends. Next time, I will tell you why this trend started and why it persists to this day. God bless you. Thanks for joining me. See you real soon.